A man stands in a field of yellow flowers, gazing at the girl he deeply loves. Many people fell in love with this movie from this single scene alone. Big Fish is one of the most romantic films ever made. A must-watch in life. Some who watched it were inspired to confess their feelings. Others were reminded of their beautiful childhood. And some shed many tears, ultimately gaining an optimistic outlook to face life's hardships. Do you believe some people might have once been big fish? Old Edward was just like one. He loved water and swimming, and enjoyed soaking in the bathtub, lost in his thoughts. Besides loving water, Old Edward also loves telling stories. He had one tale he told hundreds of times about catching a fish in his youth. A legendary fish said to have lived 60 years, transformed from a drowned thief. Back then, Edward had a sudden inspiration to use his golden wedding ring as bait. Sure enough, he caught the greedy big fish. But after catching it, Edward couldn't bear to let this one-of-a-kind creature die. So with great effort, he squeezed his ring back out and released the big fish. On that very same day, Edward's son was born. The boy was named William. As a child, he loved listening to his father's imaginative stories. But as he grew older, he began to think his father was just making things up. As an adult, these stories irritated him, and he gradually grew distant from his father. Their longest Cold War lasted 3 whole years without a single word between them, until one day, the son received a call from his mother, saying his father had cancer. So he brought his wife, 8 months pregnant, and boarded a plane home. During the journey, William felt conflicted. He watched a sleepless child in the next seat, moving his hands in the light, watching the shadow patterns change. This reminded him of his own childhood, when his father, under similar light, told him a story. It was about when Edward was 5 years old and went with 4 friends to find a rumored witch in town. Legend had it that by looking through the witch's right eye, one could see how they would die. Everyone arrived at her doorstep, but no one dared to enter, except Edward, who volunteered to knock. The witch opened the door, startling Edward, but he didn't run away. Instead, he politely asked the witch if his friends could see her eye. She agreed, and followed Edward back, removing her eye patch in front of 2 of the children.